So through the interviews of Apatani and Nishi priests, I started getting to know about their tribal religion known as Doni Poloism. Doni Poloism is one of the very few tribal religions still practiced in Arunachal Pradesh. Doni Poloism is a combination of two words, Doni and Polo. Doni means the sun and Polo means the moon. So essentially, these tribes pray the sun and moon as their gods. Now, worship of sun and moon is quite common in many cultures. But the unique thing about Doni Poloism is that they consider the sun as a female god. They believe that the entire creation has been born out of her, and therefore they refer to her as Anedoni or Mother Sun. The moon is a father god, and he is believed to be the guardian of time. Just like all outsiders, I initially thought that these tribes actually pray the sun and moon visible in the sky. It was quite later in my study that I realized the true meaning of the word Doni Polo. Though Doni Polo means sun and moon, but when they refer to Doni Polo, when they take the name Doni Polo, they are not really referring to the sun and moon visible in the sky. They are referring to something more abstract, over, above, and beyond the sun and moon. They talk about an abstract concept of God who is formless, omnipotent, omnipresent, omniscient, and is everywhere. Now, such a concept of God is difficult to believe that such a concept of God can actually be there in such small tribal religion. And that is the reason why we, outsiders, fail to comprehend it and label them as nature worshippers. You know, this belief in omnipresence of God, that the God is everywhere, can be seen everywhere in their social life. I went to almost every Apatani and Nishi house during my research, but in none of the houses that I could find any picture, any image, any idol of Doni Polo. Even in their common community areas, there was no place specially assigned for the worship of Doni Polo. So when I asked them the reason for it, they told me that they truly believe that God is everywhere. Doni Polo is in me, Doni Polo is in you, and she is there in every creation. So they don't feel any need to restricting her to a particular place like a temple. And that is the reason why they do not have temples. Isn't that quite deep? Isn't that something major world religions also have not been able to understand? I had slowly started realizing that under the seemingly simple ideas of these tribals, there lies profound philosophical principles. As I started digging further, I realized that along with the omnipresence of God, they believe in another concept, the soul. But though they believe in soul, they do not believe in other concepts which are related to soul. Say, for example, rebirth, heaven, or hell. According to Doni Poloism, every person after his death, his soul goes to a place known as Nelly. And they describe that the Nelly is somewhere below this earth. And Nelly is not like heaven or hell, as we may imagine. So people don't go there because they will enjoy there, or the sinners don't go there as a punishment. So this Nelly is just a replica of the life on earth. So irrespective of our good or bad karmas, we all are going to go to Nelly. And in Nelly, we are not going to enjoy or we are not going to suffer. We are just going to continue to lead the same life as we did on earth. So if I am a good person, I have led a good, prosperous life on earth, I would continue to do so in Nelly. But if I am a bad person and I have led a miserable life, there is no relief in Nelly. You will have to continue leading the same life in Nelly. So we see that there is an important point here. You know, their moral behavior is not really governed by the concepts of rebirth or heaven and hell. So now the natural question that arises is that, who then has given these moral concepts to the tribal people? A natural answer here would be God, right? But these tribals do not believe that the moral codes are given by Donipolo. They told me once that our religion is not a religion of book. And as a result, there are no commandments given to us. There is no written rule, written code of conduct to guide our behavior. But Donipolo has empowered all of us with a capacity of discriminating knowledge. We have been given the power to know what is right, what is wrong, what is good, what is bad, ethical and unethical. And it is this wisdom of their forefathers which has been guiding their ethical conduct. I'll give you an example to elaborate on this point. Through my conversations with Nishi and Apatani people, I got to know one thing, that both these tribes consider divorce as an unethical action. So when I asked them, why do you consider divorce as an unethical action? None of them, believe me, none of them told me that it is because Donipolo has said so or because Donipolo disapproves of it. All of them unanimously said that divorce is bad because it disturbs the ties that have been built because of the institution of marriage. Divorce is bad because it brings disharmony, discord in the society. So, their moral behavior is governed by their own thought processes, their own reflection on the life, where they regard harmonious relationships amongst each other as the highest value. They don't just regard maintaining harmonious relationships amongst the fellow beings as important value, but they also regard maintaining harmonious relationships with the nature around as equally important value. We can say that they follow an environmental philosophy, maybe called as sibling relationship. As I said earlier, they believe that Donipolo is the source of everything. She is the mother. She is the one out of whom everything, every creation is born. And as a result, we all the creations become siblings of each other. So, human beings, we do not hold any superior position compared to all other creations. In fact, as elder siblings, we have been entrusted with this responsibility of loving, nurturing, and taking care of the environment. And due to this approach towards environment, Nishi and Apatani people have been able to maintain ecological balance beautifully. If you go to Zero, you will see that it is lush green with paddy fields all over. Apatani people have mastered the skill of paddy cultivation, but they do it without the use of any machinery, any chemicals or pesticides. Because they don't use any chemicals or pesticides in their fields, they can grow fish into that water. These paddy fields require certain enclosures, so they build small bunds around it. But even on those bunds, they grow millet. Every Apatani house, Nishi house, has a kitchen garden where they grow vegetables for their daily use. So every waste material from the house goes to the garden. So maximum utilization of the resources is the mantra for their sustainable development model. Looking at this approach to the environment, UNESCO has recognized Zero Valley, has nominated Zero Valley as World Heritage Site. Now, a careful analysis of all the above points brings forth an important idea, that the labels that you and me and all the outsiders or the so-called mainstream people attach to tribal people and tribal religions in particular, like animism, primitivism, backwardness, nature worshippers, are definitely not apt. Their religions are equally based on strong philosophical principles. These philosophical foundations have guided their lives for centuries together. It is in fact our unawareness about these philosophical principles that is responsible for such labeling. So to avoid this kind of flawed understanding, we need to change. We, the so-called mainstream people, need to change our stereotypical way of looking at them. If we remove this glasses of superiority and try to look at the tribals objectively, we would realize that they also have certain things to contribute to the society. We always perceive ourselves at the giving end and tribals at the receiving end without even inquiring for a second if they really need anything from us. And would our solutions be okay for them? Would it work for them? I feel that these tribals are like backbenchers who are generally assumed not to have any answer, and in fact, they might have an answer to the question asked by the teacher. And we all, behave like those teachers who just assume that they have nothing to contribute to the class. So, if we really want to bridge this gap between us and them, and we want to integrate them into the mainstream, what we need to do is keep an open eye.